Well, good evening. As I'm Dr. Pete, it's an honor to be with you tonight. So just Dr. Heskett, I call him Heskett. I told people last night in Morrison's because I'm his daddy. I don't think that's true. But I did my internship with him in Morristown, Tennessee in 2001. And I went to Toronto trying to do my internship with the largest clinic in the world, and I met Heskett there. And he's the funniest person I've ever met. And so I decided, you know what? We're going to go here. So I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old at the time. They're now 25 and 23. I have 4 boys now. But we traveled to Morristown, Tennessee from Minnesota. My wife, our 2 small kids, we lived above a veterinary clinic, 400 square feet, with no TV, like a small little couch. I had a train track about literally from here to that wall, and barking dogs all night. So my wife is a saint that she let me do that. And then we've been in Knoxville, West Knoxville now for over 20 years, and we love it. We're all from, our whole family's from Minnesota. We didn't know anyone below Minnesota when we came down here, but we truly love it. And so I've been good friends with Michael and Marge and his family for over 20 years now. I truly love them. I asked the Lord, I said, when I get to heaven one day, I want to be right next to Heskett, and, because I know it's going to be a good time. But truly, he's one of my favorite. What God's doing in these offices is incredible as well. I've been a chiropractor, like I said, for over 20 years. God's been very gracious. People come to me from all across the world each week with cancer, MS, Parkinson's, and heart disease, and PTSD. The military sends a lot of PTSD patients. I don't really treat any of those things. My whole objective is to create resilience in the body. I believe everyone deserves to be healthy, therefore everyone deserves to be resilient. There's a lot of misconceptions about health though. Number one, if you feel good, you're healthy, does not broke, don't fix it. Well, we all know someone who's felt great and died of a heart attack, felt great and been diagnosed with cancer. And there's a mentality that says germs make you sick. But if that was the case, we'd all be dead. The truth of the matter is germs make a weak host sick. A body that's no longer resilient to those germs. So if the flu comes in your household, not everyone in your household gets the flu. Who gets the flu? Those who are no longer resilient to it. Okay? And then there's a mentality that assumes, or a misconception, that if you eat organic and you exercise, you're going to be healthy. And I'm a big advocate of those things. But I have a number of patients that come to me and have the cleanest diets they've ever seen, exercise all the time, and have cancer for the second time at 30. And then I know a number of individuals that eat garbage, never work out, and I think they're going to live forever. So health is all about resilience. My body's ability to deal with life and recover from it. Because life's going to hit us each and every day of our lives. Every one of us is going to go through hell at times in life. Demands and stressors face us each and every day. So the secret's not quarantine. The secret's not avoiding bad things. The secret is being resilient in the face of those things so that literally you can live your best life. Resilience is all about my body's ability to go from a place of homeostasis, adapt physiologically to the demands and stressors placed, and then recover. So as long as my body's able to deal with life and recover from life, we're good. The problem is this: if my body ever gets overwhelmed, eventually it will reach what the medical community calls allostatic load. It's simply a medical term that means your body got stuck in a stress response. And if the body gets stuck in a stress response, and if it reaches allostatic load, that's the point of vulnerability. That's the point where a body, fearfully wonderfully made, becomes chaotic and dumb. That's when inflammation increases, pain's activated. It affects hormones, digestion, mood, sleep, you name it. That's where chaos begins. But if we can get the body out of a stress response, the body can literally heal itself of anything. So we have what's called our roadmap to resilience. Like I said, I believe everyone deserves to be healthy, therefore everyone deserves to be resilient. And the roadmap to resilience is simply 3 parts. Number 1, you have to restore homeostasis. If you fail to get the body back to homeostasis, you'll never allow the body to truly heal itself. Only at homeostasis does the body truly heal the way it's supposed to. Getting the body back to homeostasis, the number 1 way to do that is every time you lie on one of these tables. Chiropractic, while it's so good for back pain, neck pain, headaches, you name it, it's the fastest growing wellness profession in the world. Excellent for those things. But the number 1 benefit that you get every time you lie on one of those tables is that it restores the body neurologically to homeostasis.
That's where the body heals. In fact, Dr. Roger Sperry is a Nobel Prize winner. And his research proved that spinal mobility is the greatest nutrient to the brain. Every time you lie on a table and you get adjusted, it actually releases nutrients to the brain to bring the body neurologically back to homeostasis. That's the foundation that health is built upon. You can have the best diet, like I said, in the world, best nutrition in the world, but if that body's not getting back to homeostasis, you do not have a firm foundation to build upon. Okay? So how do we do that? There's three ways. I will tell you this. There's three distinct stress pathways. There's a neurological stress pathway that facilitates motion. Okay? That pathway, when it gets stuck, causes disc degeneration and arthritis. So neurologically speaking, we restore that pathway back to homeostasis through the chiropractic adjustments. Okay? The more specific, the easier it is to get the body back to homeostasis. That neurological stress pathway facilitates physical stress. So what's physical stress? Car accidents, falls, whiplash injuries, sitting at a desk all day is too much movement or too little movement. Physical stress activates the body neurologically. If it's left there and reaches allostatic load, the sign of that is disc degeneration or arthritis. People say, well, I have disc degeneration, it runs in my family, or it's because I'm older, because that's what doctors tell us. But that's not true. Disc degeneration and arthritis is not because you're older, it's not even because it runs in your family. It's because the body's been stuck neurologically in a stress response for an average of 25 to 30 years. So restoring mobility to that spine helps activate homeostasis neurologically. Okay? The second stress pathway is what's called the chemical stress pathway. It's referred to as the HPA axis. Nothing to memorize, but it's the hypothalamus, pituitary, and the adrenal glands. Why is that important? Because it's that stress pathway that creates the stress hormone cortisol. How many of you have heard of cortisol, the stress hormone? Psychology today says cortisol is public enemy number one. You want to get fat, old, tired, or sick, let cortisol go crazy. But we all need cortisol every single day. I need it to wake up in the morning. I need it for a protective mechanism. I need it for energy stores. Okay? But what I don't want is that pathway to get stuck. If it gets stuck, the National Institutes of Health will prove if the chemical stress pathway gets stuck and reaches allostatic load, every single disease on the planet has one commonality: the body got stuck chemically in a stress response. And the only thing ever proven to restore that chemical stress pathway back to homeostasis, which is the foundation of health, is what's called adaptogenic herbs. Adaptogens are nothing new. They've been around for thousands of years. Things like ashwagandha, holy basil, cordyceps. Okay? But adaptogens are the only things that research has ever proven will directly affect the HPA axis, the chemical stress pathway, to restore it to homeostasis. So adaptogens are like a thermostat in the body. Most medications, most supplements go in one direction or another, right? They either activate the body or suppress it. Adaptogens do actually both. They bring you up or they bring you down. They're always regulating the body back to homeostasis. They create stability in the body, chemically, okay? So this restoring homeostasis is the foundation for health. We restore the neurological stress pathway to homeostasis through the chiropractic adjustments. We restore chemical stress pathway through adaptogenic herbs. And the third stress pathway is what's called the emotional stress pathway. Okay? It's the amygdala, the limbic system of the brain. That pathway is all dictated based on thought process. So negative thoughts activate my body into a stress response. Positive thoughts restore homeostasis. Simply put, if I lose hope in my future, if I fail to see the goodness of God in my future, it activates a stress response emotionally in my body. But if I can see the goodness of God and experience the goodness of God and see myself according to the goodness, it actually restores homeostasis. But what's interesting is this, that all chronic illness right now, in 99% probably of cancers, have an emotional trigger. Breast cancer, for instance. Based on which breast it shows up, typically if it shows up in the woman's right breast tissue, it's because of an emotional trauma with a father figure somewhere in their past. If it shows up in the left breast tissue, it's typically because of an emotional trauma with a child somewhere in their past. Okay? But if we can restore the body back to homeostasis, how do we do that? Hope. Surround yourself with people that see you according to your worth and value. unlocking that amygdala. So, bringing it all together. The roadmap to resilience is this. Number one, you have to restore homeostasis. How do we do that? 3 ways. We restore it neurologically through movement and chiropractic adjustments. Okay? That's going to lay a foundation for health. Number 2, we restore the chemical stress pathway through adaptogenic herbs. And number 3, we restore the emotional stress pathway through hope. If all we ever did in life was to help get those 3 pathways back to homeostasis, you would have 99% of what most people will never have. It's literally the essence of true health and laying a foundation of health. Okay? So first part of our roadmap to resilience, let's get the body back to homeostasis. If we do nothing else, get adjusted, adaptogenic herbs, and surround yourself with people that love you and support you and allow you to see your life according to the goodness of God. That's going to lay a foundation. But the second part of our roadmap to resilience is when the body gets stuck in a stress response, it creates vulnerabilities. It creates toxicities, deficiencies, inflammation, and infection. In fact, when the body gets stuck in a stress response, there's 5 main vulnerabilities the body suffers from. And I'm going to go through that in just a second. If those 5 vulnerabilities are left, it leads to every single disease on the planet. In fact, what I'm not going to show you tonight, but if there's 5 vulnerabilities and they're left, it affects every one or multiple of the 11 systems of the body, which leads to all the diseases that we face on a regular basis. Okay? So, the reason I'm here, the reason that Dr. Hesketh's partnered with us, not only because we're good friends, okay? Not only because I create a supplement line to fund our humanitarian work around the world, but the main reason is because Redeem Essentials, we created it simply to support the vulnerabilities in the second phase of the roadmap to resilience, support the vulnerabilities left in the wake of stress. I speak all over the world on the physiology and the science of stress. I teach medical doctors, I teach chiropractors, I teach naturopaths, and so forth on the science and physiology of stress. That's what I study. That's what I speak on more than anything else in the world. So I created a line simply to support the vulnerabilities that are left in. But let me just go through this. Okay? I want you to understand this. Most people assume cancer to be abnormal. And most of us in this room would say cancer is abnormal. We would say hypothyroidism and hypothyroidism, anxiety, depression, allergies, you name it. And I can go on and on to every disease, Crohn's disease, and IBS, and all these things. Most people would consider all those things to be abnormal. Let me give you a different perspective. In fact, there's a term in our society called pathologies. So if someone has blood work, they give you a pathology report. Does that make sense? And everything that doesn't show up in the normal range, they consider pathology or abnormal. Okay? But let me look at this. I'm going to give you a different perspective. Pathology, by its very definition, is the body become broken down, is not doing what's created to do, is become abnormal. But a better perspective is a term called adaptive physiology. What does that mean? It means the body will adapt physiologically to the demands and stressors placed on it. So for instance, if we go to Denver, Dr. Hesketh's rich, okay? Let's go on a field trip. You didn't come here tonight to be with me, you came to go on a field trip. So let's go to Denver. Let's say we go on a field trip to Denver, get off the plane in Denver, and there's someone there to measure our red blood cell count. They will determine in every one of us that our red blood cell count will have increased. Why? Because red blood cells carry oxygen. And since we're at a higher altitude, we need more oxygen to our brain. Does that make sense? So therefore, if we get off a plane in Denver, someone there is to measure our red blood cell count, and in fact determines that our red blood cell count has increased. When you consider that increase in red blood cell count to be abnormal pathology or adaptive physiology? Adaptive physiology, right? Because I'm at a higher altitude, I need increase in red blood cell count to get oxygen to my brain. Let me ask you this. If you go to the doctor, and the doctor checks out and says, hey, your blood pressure's high, what does the doctor consider that high blood pressure to be? Abnormal pathology. Okay, so let's go to the zoo. Let's say we're having a good time enjoying each other's fellowship. We're at the zoo and all of a sudden a tiger gets out. We'll call it the epitome of a stressful situation. If the tiger gets out of the zoo, what happens? Essential activities in my body for survival go into overdrive. Blood pressure increases, blood sugar increases, heart rate increases, right? stroke volume increases. But non-essential activities like digestion and immune system and sex hormones decrease. Why? I don't need to reproduce and we're running away from a tiger. Okay? So let's say we're running away from this tiger in a serious stress response. Our blood pressure's high, and a doctor comes running next to us and says, hey, your blood pressure's high, take this pill. Where do you consider your doctor to be? He's crazy, right? Because the problem isn't my blood pressure, the problem is I'm running away from a tiger. I don't know if I explained that well, but the reality is, the problem isn't the blood pressure, the problem is I'm running away from a tiger. I'm in a stress response. Yet if you go to your doctor, and the doctor says, well, sure enough, your blood pressure's high. What does the doctor consider that high blood pressure to be? Abnormal, pathology. So what does he offer you? A pill. Okay, so watch this. That pill will lower your blood pressure. I don't disagree, I know it will. So you go to the office, your doctor, you feel lousy, the doctor gives you blood pressure medication, you start feeling better. For 3 months you feel great, but then 3 months into it, you start to feel lousy again. So you go back to the doctor says, well, sure enough, your blood pressure is high. So what does the doctor give you? Does he take you off the one? He gives you another one. Why? Because he still considers that high blood pressure to be abnormal. And as long as he assumes that high blood pressure to be abnormal, what are you going to treat? The abnormality. But what if the blood pressure isn't the abnormality? What if it's simply a normal physiological response the body got stuck in a stress response? That's what I'm here to get you to understand tonight. Every disease that we face is actually an adaptive physiology, the body adapting physiologically to what? A body that got stuck in a stress response that created vulnerabilities that led to the diseases that we're facing. And if we just treat the disease without caging that tiger and restoring homeostasis and replenishing vulnerabilities, we'll always spin our wheels. So I don't treat cancer, I don't treat MS, I don't treat Parkinson's, I don't treat Alzheimer's. But people come to me from all over for those things. What's my objective? Everyone deserves to be healthy, everyone deserves to be resilient, and everyone can be resilient. How? By restoring homeostasis, replenishing vulnerabilities, and retraining lifestyle. So let me quickly, and I won't be much longer, but let me tell you this. There's 5 main vulnerabilities when the body gets stuck in a stress response. Okay? Number 1, the body gets stuck away from homeostasis. Okay? A body that gets stuck away from homeostasis, this is the number 1 vulnerability of a body stuck in stress response. A body away from homeostasis, according to medical research, okay, leads to hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity, intestinal disorders, asthma, depression, insomnia, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, arthritis, sexual dysfunction, migraine, skin disorders, and autoimmunity. How many of you have heard of someone who's had that in the past? We all know someone, don't we? Do you know that these are not the problem? What's the problem? A body got stuck away from homeostasis. So I created what's called our Essentials Kit. Our Essentials Kit that the Headskip Family Chiropractic now carries here are 5 products that support the 5 main vulnerabilities of stress. Okay? This first product, a body away from homeostasis, if it's not supported, leads to, just according to medical research, 15 of the diseases people face on a regular basis. So we have a product called Stress Max. Stress Max are adaptogenic herbs. They're what we talked about. They help the body get back to homeostasis chemically. It's a blend of a number of herbs and just antioxidants and everything else, but adaptogens. And adaptogens help the body reinforce homeostasis on a regular basis. Simply, we encourage my patients to do 2 every single morning when you wake up, simply to create balance and resilience neurologically in the body along the chemical stress pathway. Secondly, a body that's stuck in a stress response, the second vulnerability is inflammation and cellular waste. When the body gets stuck in a stress response, it creates inflammation, it creates toxicity in the body, it creates cellular waste. And if you look at the diseases, according to medical research, that result from inflammation and cellular waste, cardiovascular disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, psoriasis, type 2 diabetes, MS, ankylosing spondylitis, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, inflammatory diseases, eczema, lupus. We've all heard of people that are dealing with those things. All considered abnormal by society. But they're actually normal physiological response to what? A body that got inflamed and created toxicity and cellular waste. And so we created a product called muscle and tissue. Muscle and tissue are what are called proteolytic enzymes. proteolytic enzymes that will actually drive out cellular waste toxicity fibrin from the body. In fact, we have a number of patients that will come with a frozen shoulder, as many of us know, and within a few weeks of taking this, they can actually restore range of motion of the arm. Why? Because it drives out cellular waste. So our second product that supports the second vulnerability to stress is muscle and tissue. And there's medical research that proves it. The third vulnerability to stress is a weakened immune system. Your immune system is your body's military defense system. It's what the body uses to fight off invasion, okay? Fight off free radicals and so forth. But when the body becomes vulnerable in its immunity, it leads to these 15 common illnesses and diseases with the research that backs it. So our support for the immune system and this third vulnerability is what's called immune defense. So when COVID came out, the biggest pandemic, one of the biggest pandemics that's ever affected our culture, but when COVID came out, I had a bunch of medical doctors that were patients of mine and still are, and they started coming in saying, Dr. B, you wouldn't believe this new research on how we fight COVID. And they started talking about vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, elderberry, and so forth. But then they started talking about quercetin, N-acetylcysteine, and all these other things to fight those spike proteins. So we created a product called Immune Defense. It's loaded with vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, elderberry, echinacea, quercetin, simply to support the body's immune system. Okay. The fourth vulnerability is a down-regulated digestive system. When the body gets stuck in a stress response, it takes the body away from homeostasis, vulnerability number 1. It causes cellular waste and toxicity, vulnerability number 2. Weakens the immune system, vulnerability number 3, and it down-regulates your digestive system. Many people say your digestive system is your second brain. One of the number 1 detoxifying organs in the body. But when the digestive system is down-regulated, it actually leads to all of these different diseases. Crohn's disease, gastritis, gastroparesis, celiac disease, ulcerative colitis, malnutrition, colorectal cancer, and the list goes on and on. So we created a product called Digest Max. Not only does it have pre and postbiotics and probiotics in it, but it also has healing herbs, simply to support a leaky gut, support the intestinal tract, the mucosal lining, and the microflora of that digestive system, simply so that we can support the body's ability to digest itself effectively. And finally, the fifth vulnerability of a body stuck in a stress response, it affects neurotransmitters and circadian rhythm. Do you know that stress affects your sleep and a lack of sleep affects your stress? And sleep is where the body restores itself. But do you know that if you're on an antidepressant, it doesn't allow the body to get into REM sleep. And REM sleep is where the body supports itself. There's 2 phases of REM sleep. Phase number 1, REM sleep. The first phase of REM sleep is where the body begins to regulate emotions and experiences. But it's the second phase of REM sleep where the body begins to recover and begin to heal itself. So we created a product called Sleep Max. It's simply a blend of herbs and vitamins and minerals to help the body get into not only phase 1 of REM sleep, but phase 2 of REM sleep so the body can restore itself completely. A body stuck in a stress response makes it vulnerable. At the root of every disease is a body stuck under stress. So our roadmap to resilience, number 1, let's restore homeostasis. How are we going to do that? The chiropractic adjustments, adaptogenic herbs, and home. Phase number 2, let's replenish vulnerabilities. There's 5 main vulnerabilities if we want to break it down. And if we can support that simply and effectively through the Essentials Kit. And number 3, the third part of our roadmap to resilience is let's retrain lifestyle. And that's simple. I have a book called Be Resilient. It's the 12 keys that transform your life. And we have a copy for those that get one of the Essentials Kits tonight. And I'll just give it to you. It just explains literally the essence of health. What Haskell Family Chiropractic does and all the doctors do and the staff do, they educate you on simply the principles of a healthy lifestyle. So everyone deserves to be healthy. Everyone deserves to be resilient. And there's a simple way for every one of us to get there. Number 1, restore homeostasis. Number 2, replenish vulnerabilities. And number 3, retrain lifestyle. So when people come into my office, under chiropractic care, we get everyone adjusted, obviously. And then we put every single person on Stress Max. If you say, okay, with my budget, I can only afford a certain amount, then we make sure every single person leaves with what's called stress max. It's the adaptogenic herbs. It's making sure we're reinforcing homeostasis. So worst case scenario, you're getting your adjustments, you're coming into this atmosphere, you're getting hope, and the adaptogenic herbs will make sure that 3 distinct stress pathways are always being reinforced in homeostasis. I want your body to adapt to life, but we need it to recover completely and recover quickly so that the body can lay a foundation for health. So there's only one product, we put everyone on stress max. If people are in a position to, then we support the 5 main vulnerabilities of stress. Okay, people come to me every week from around the world, and I can't tell you how much they're spending on shots, you name it, Ozempic. Right now, a shot that you put into your stomach, it's a diabetes medication. The side effects, if NBC and ABC and CBS News are coming up, and CNN are coming up talking about the side effects of a medication, it's very, because most of them would not ever come out and talk about the side effects of a medication. But it decreases so much muscle mass, which is what we need for a good, healthy metabolism, and it replaces it back with fat. And so it's just so detrimental to the body. But what they're paying for some of these things, Crohn's patients right now are averaging $10,000. Some of them are paying $100,000 a month. Just cancer treatment and chemo and radiation. So being proactive when it comes to your health, it's a small investment for a lifetime of reward. Okay? So what we tell people is this. If you're going to do one thing, let's get the body under stress response chemically with the adjustment, that's stress max. If you're in a position to, let's support the 5 main vulnerabilities of stress. That's the Essentials Kit. We also have a Kids Essentials Kit, which comes with an immune gummies for the kids, multivitamins, digestive gummies, and our stress gummies. Okay? And then, so everyone that comes through our doors, we get them out of a stress response. We support the 5 main vulnerabilities. But if people are coming to me on medications with different health conditions, we've actually formulated a line. We've taken a lot of time to work on it. And we create, because every disease has certain toxicities, deficiencies, free radicals, and so forth, inflammation, infection. And so we created products specific to certain diseases. So we have a thyroid product. We have a bone density product. We have blood sugar product, and so forth. And so what we do is we simply say, if we can personalize your bundle for you specifically, so we can get you on the road to health. But simply put, if we're going to lay a foundation, let's restore homeostasis. Stress max. If you can, let's replenish the 5 main vulnerabilities, and then let's simply retrain lifestyle. And I promise you this, if we get moving in the right direction, we'll gain momentum. Anything's possible. I would rather be on death's door, okay, and get you moving in the right direction than to assume you're healthy and move in the wrong direction. Health is actually not complicated. It's simple, and there's a simple roadmap to get there. Does it take time and repetition? Absolutely. But it reaps great, great benefits. So, guys, I have tonight, for those of you that are here and anyone that's watching online, Dr. Heskett has asked us if we would give you, for our Essentials Kit, 25% off any products that are sold tonight. So our Essentials Kit, I think it comes with $145 for our 5 products for Essentials Kit. I think our Kids Essentials Kit is right around $60 maybe. Okay. And then, but any of our other products as well. And anyone that gets products tonight, we'll give you a copy of my latest book called Be Resilient and the 12 Keys of a Happy and Healthy Life. But you can do all that. Any questions at all about anything?
I have a food allergy to nightshades, and
Okay.
the ashwagandha is in a lot of these products.
Yeah.
And what would you have that would, do you do formulations?
Well, we do very comprehensive formulations in food sensitivity. I think if it comes to those nightshades, I do have, does our Healthy Mind, I don't think our Healthy Mind has ashwagandha in it. It has holy basil in it and so forth. But we can talk about that as well. There's alternatives that we can do to kind of stimulate homeostasis on there. I know the Stress Max has ashwagandha in it, the stress gummies. The holy basil, which is a group of adaptogens, I do not have. Did we bring the Healthy Mind here?
I don't think we did tonight, but I have it there. But we can find a product that works for you, simply to help restore homeostasis. Yeah.
And mine is mostly stress related from, I don't know if it was COVID, but in the last 2.5 years, I lost a lot of hair.
Okay.
3 different times.
Okay.
And then it comes back.
Well, it's also all over, which is caused the stress.
Yeah. And so I would say the biggest thing that I would recommend is number one, the adjustments. Not even just for pain, but just consistently getting that body to homeostasis is going to put the body in a position to fight effectively. Okay. We have a hair, skin, and nails gummy. I think I have it up here that has 20,000% of biotin in it. We've had a number of people come in, their hair's falling out this thinning, and within a month they see a huge, huge change. So that's one of our kind of our best-selling products, hair, skin, and nail gummies, because the biotin in it. So one of the things I'd recommend as well. Any other questions at all?
Yeah, if you start taking your supplements and your own medication, what do you do that?
That's a great question. So I've never once told anyone to get off their medications. Okay, because it's imperative that we begin to get the body under stress and begin to support that body. Because if you are going to be able to get off that medication, then we need to support the body's nutrients in that system of the body. And then just working with the medical doctor, in allowing them to just monitor. And the biggest thing is, you have to understand that most doctors have their hands tied. I have a number of oncologists and immunologists and medical doctors that come in, refer to us, but their hands are tied. When one of us walks into one of their offices and does blood work, they're held to a medical model of care that they have to follow. In fact, if they go away from it, that's when they get sued. And so for us, that's what most people don't realize. Is Dr. Peter, they come in asking for the purple pill because it's not in a commercial, because of acid reflux. They want that. If I don't give it to them, they'll typically go somewhere else. But if I do, they don't realize that it causes depletion in calcium and it causes all these different things to take place. And so what I encourage people to do is, let's support those 5 main vulnerabilities. Let's begin to help that body begin to heal and begin to promote health. And then over time, we can work with doctors to see if we can kind of decrease that. But if we can support the body nutritionally, it will allow the body over time to be able to get healthy so that you eventually can come off it, and then just working with the doctor to get off. But you have to let the doctor know that you have a desire to come off some of your medications. Otherwise, you'll just keep adding them. Yeah.
The mind is good.
What's that?
The healthy mind is good.
Okay, yeah, so Healthy Mind is a bunch of adaptions without the ashwagandha in it that I think would be great for you. Okay. Any other questions at all?
Yeah, I gotta come back to
Yeah.
prescriptions.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of hard to really challenge, if I give you blood pressure,
Yeah.
some for diabetes, it's kind of hard to challenge them,
Mm-hmm.
because once you say no to them, then you're like, they want to ostracize you.
Yeah.
So, how do you make that transition? I mean, we're here 3 times a week,
Yeah.
and we're trying to pull a diet up,
Yeah.
and we're getting our improvements,
Mm-hmm.
both of us.
Yeah. So the biggest thing I tell you is my recommendation would be keep getting adjusted, keep getting the body under a stress response, because you're putting the body in a position to eventually to finally heal. Okay? Secondly, I would support those 5 main vulnerabilities. Simply providing the nutrients the body needs to support the bodies and the things that get depleted under stress. And then, like you're doing, just retraining your lifestyle. I'll give you a copy of my book. They have so much education here, so many classes that Dr. Chase and Dr. Tyler and I think Dr. Heskett do on a regular basis. So continue to just live, but then you'll actually see your numbers begin to improve. Like, it's no big deal to go have some blood work done and whatever, and then to actually watch it improve. That's what we see all the time. Cholesterol lowers. Just by sowing into my health, blood pressure begins to normalize. Blood sugar begins. I had a gentleman just tonight talk about how his PSA levels were 14 and dropped to 4. Okay? And just by doing healthy things and supplementations, and we put him on our prostate product. So if you're on a medication, we can actually formulate and personalize something for you, and I can work with Dr. Heskett's staff to help you serve you that way. Any other questions? Do you have any more questions in regards to that? Okay. Any other questions at all? Well, guys, it's been an honor to be with you tonight.
We do have some essentials kit. There is a 25% discount with you tonight. There's some products on the shelves. And then there's a free book for all of you tonight. But it's been an honor to be with you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Guys, I am here, and then Emma is here. If you have any questions about products or anything like that, let us know, and get your prices and that type of thing. And then we also still have the system up and running, so if you want to get anything tonight, just let us know and we can run that for you as well. But we'll have this stuff here too, normal, so we'll keep it in stock and that type of thing as well. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
We'll give you an extra one.
That's before. Yes.
I'm Joanne.
Let me check
Yeah.
I just got the system up. We can do it individually.
So you take this lower and I go out pressure, I'm on two pills for it.
So what medications are you?
So that's not sure you have
Yes, smoke macaroni and cheese.
You brought the food.
What's that?
I go through a lot of stress.